Hi, I'm Cheryl Morales of the Newport News Tourism Office, and welcome to What's New in Newport News. For over 30 years now, the Discovery Channel has been making big splashes with their series, Shark Week. But our very own Virginia Living Museum has been making big waves as they host their newest exhibit, Shark Zone.
There's a shark in here! Daddy, look! There's sharks in here!
All summer long. And here to tell us more about it is Fred Ferris. He's our exhibits director, and Patricia Laurenyuk. She is the aquarium curator for the Virginia Living Museum. Thank you both for being with us today.
Glad to be here.
Well, Fred, we've done a lot of shows together, and it seems that there's a common link, the letter S. We've done snakes, we've done spiders, and now we're doing sharks. And I'm really excited about this one, to learn more about sharks.
Well, maybe one day we'll do an exhibit you truly love in advance, because I know spiders was not your favorite, but we're trying to get people to change their attitudes about wildlife, things that they maybe are scared of, and maybe for not the right reasons. So that's why sharks is a good one, because a lot of people are scared of them, and we're trying to make them a friendlier, more respectful animal with our exhibit.
Well, they've been here for a long time.
Yep, 400 million years.
400 million
way
years.
Before the dinosaurs. Wow. You know, they've only had to share the ocean with people for the last 10,000 years. So we're kind of stepping out into their world that they've been in forever. So it's really, we're kind of the invaders into their kingdom, and that's why there are occasionally some encounters that are scary.
Well, there's all types of them as well, too.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, most people think of just great white sharks
Sure.
and the big typical shark, but there's 400 kinds of sharks, some smaller than your hand, some bigger than a school bus that don't even have teeth hardly at all. They filter plankton out of the water. Some light up at dark, some swim like a snake, some crawl, some are flat on the bottom. You know, they're just all different shapes and sizes. So, and people have no idea that they're that diverse in all oceans around the world.
I had no idea.
We all focus on the great white and the mako, whatever, the bull sharks, the ones that have maybe encountered people, but they're a fascinating group of animals.
Well, speaking of teeth, I see that you brought some samples with it.
Well, part of the exhibit is a fossil beach where you can collect a shark tooth to take home. So, and you can find shark teeth on any beach around here. So, but you have to look really hard. So you're more likely to come away with one at the Virginia Living Museum in our small beach, because we add some frequently so that kids can take one home. These are typical ones that they would find. This is not one they would find in our fossil beach.
Okay.
This is from a megalodon. You know, the Meg movie came out recently. It's the largest shark ever, and it swam right through Hampton Roads. So it was here. This was an ocean a few million years ago, and they were swimming right through Hampton, Newport News. This is the largest Meg tooth ever found. It's from Peru. It's 7.5 inches long. But I've had kids find teeth locally from Megs that bring them to the museum maybe 4 or 5 inches in size. So they're the size of a school bus or bigger. So they're 60 feet long, huge sharks that went extinct, unless you believe the movies, a few million years ago.
Yeah, you can just imagine the size of this one.
Yeah, and we have a Meg jaw in our exhibit. So one of the features of the exhibit is a fully reconstructed 6 foot high, 6 foot wide Meg jaw that you have your whole family stand behind and get a family photo that you will never forget.
Oh, I'm sure you wouldn't. I've always been taught at school that sharks are not mammals.
No, they're not. They are fish, believe it or not. They are boneless. They have cartilage instead of bone, so they're just an older group of fish under the name elasmobranchs, which houses stingrays, skates, and sharks as well.
So dolphins aren't like sharks then?
No, dolphins are actually mammals. They're more like you and I, and dogs and cats and so forth. They have hair, they give live birth, they feed their young with their mammary gland, they have lungs and so forth. So dolphins just are mammals underwater. Sharks are not mammals, they are fish. They don't have lungs, they have gills instead. They can give live birth, some of them, but they do not continue the care for their young. They don't feed them with their mammary gland. They also lay eggs, and they are cartilaginous, no bones. So they're not mammals, no hair.
There you go.
Yeah.
But they're all animals to us,
yes.
right? So it's just different classifications,
Sure.
you know, including us, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, why don't we do an overview of the exhibit itself? Because there's different sections throughout.
Sure, there is lots to see, and we've kind of nicknamed the adventure, tour, touch, and track as all kind of different experiences you can have. Of course, you have to enter the exhibit through an inflatable shark jaw, so that's 9 feet high and 9 feet wide.
Fun.
And kids love it.
Yes.
Some grown-ups are a little scared to go through it, but it's a way to get you engaged right off the start. Once you go through the shark jaw, you tour through a group of photos, amazing photos from underwater by an award-winning National Geographic photographer. So these are spectacular shark photos of many species. You tour through that, round the corner, and you touch a megalodon jaw that we just talked about. So get your photo taken there. You can go to a touch tank, touch some live sharks or skates, and go to the fossil beach and touch and take home a shark's tooth. And then you can track sharks. So there's a computer station there where you can see where great whites are at any particular time all over the world. Real data, real time, and it's fascinating to people to see how close or even how far or just where they've traveled.
Right. And this is an exhibit that the Virginia Living Museum has coordinated, correct? It's
That's
not
correct.
one that is on loan that you have done in the past.
No, just the photographs are on loan. We wanted to do an exhibit on sharks and couldn't find one. There just isn't one that's good and interactive. So we coupled the photographs with our engaging experiences, and we think it's a big hit.
Well, let's then talk about a little bit more about the photography, because it is wonderful. Who is the photographer that is in these photos, some of them? He's got to be crazy. I mean, these fish are huge, and he is just being, right next door. He looks like this compared to them. Yeah.
He's now spent, I think, 100,000 hours underwater photographing sharks over 30
And who
plus
is
years.
he?
Brian Scary.
Okay.
He's a National
Scary.
Geographic. Yes, unfortunate name for a shark photographer, but that's his name. I don't think he's scared of sharks. Actually, when he was 20, he first went underwater into a shark cage to try to photograph sharks, not really thinking it would be his lifelong career. So here he is in a shark cage, 3 or 4 hours, no sharks, pretty boring, beautiful ocean, but no sharks. Late in the afternoon, out of the blue, comes a blue shark, a pretty big shark right at the cage, but very peacefully. So Brian, not planning on it, steps out of the cage, right by the blue shark, and takes some photographs.
You
And,
would? Yeah, I don't know if I would. I have to be honest.
and realized,
Wow.
this shark thing is totally flipped, and he decides to spend the rest of his life photographing sharks to change our attitudes about sharks. So we now have a whole life history of these on display from all throughout his career on the wall. They're huge format photos. They're spectacular colors, different coral reefs off the sandy bottom. It's a beautiful
great gallery. It really is.
So-
Now that is going to be here for half the time
through
of
August
your,
4th,
Okay.
and then that has to travel on to California to another exhibit. So we will replace it with our own shark photos, not that we've taken, but that we've collected from other artists. So you'll still see spectacular photos. They just won't all be from Brian Scary. They'll be from different shark photographers around the world. And that will run
opportunity
through
to
Labor
go
Day.
twice.
Yep.
Then you should, so that you can see.
It will be different
both,
then.
both
Yep.
galleries. Yes. Well, that's great. We talked a little bit about, unfortunately, the shark has a bad reputation.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, mainly because of the movies, right?
Sure.
Jaws. I mean, we all know. But the perception of sharks. Tell us about that and how they should be celebrated.
They should be celebrated. They are a really important part of the ecosystem. They create a really good balance of the food web in the ocean, and they're really taken advantage of. But I think with this Shark Zone exhibit and Discovery's Shark Week, I mean, that is starting to change. People are really starting to appreciate sharks more and more, which is nice to see. But it's sad when you fear something which we should actually be fearing for them, because they're disappearing, and it's a sad world without sharks.
Yeah, again, the ecosystem that is, evolved around it as well is affected if they're affected.
Yes, that's right. It's from overfishing, we're not realizing we're taking their food, and then also sharks can be caught as bycatch. They're also targeted for their fins, the dorsal fin for soup, which is wrong. So it's an unfortunate thing, but we're really trying to raise awareness and really change their image to a positive one, because they really are cool animals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again, they've been here longer than we have for sure.
They know something we don't.
Exactly. Well, one way to do that is just by education. So what you're doing with this exhibit is fantastic. And another part professionally is tracking them to learn more. And that is part of the exhibit. So tell us about that.
Yeah, that's a nonprofit group that has been tagging great whites for the last 10 years. They bring them up onto a platform near the boat safely for like 30 minutes. Do some medical tests, tag them with radio tags, do some research on them real quickly, and then put them back in the water. And they survive fine. Then they ping those radio tags with satellites, so they get data all the time from them. And they share that worldwide on the internet. So we have that connected in the exhibit. It's made national news since we opened the exhibit. There were sharks off Hatteras, 2 great whites near the shore that made national news, and then one entered Long Island in New York. Never has been seen before in Long Island. So people were freaking out and going to this website, so that the website crashed. There were so many people trying to track sharks out of the blue. But we got it right there in real time in the exhibit. So you can select a shark, double click it, and see where it was first tagged, where it's traveled, and where it is right now. So it's just, people are fascinated with it.
Sure. Oh, and how fun. Yeah, very interactive.
Yeah.
Tell me, because you were telling me about New York and then North Carolina and such. Do they usually go into more of a warmer ocean climate, or?
Well, we're just figuring that
both?
out with the tagging. So they didn't know a lot about where great whites went. We still don't know about their mating behaviors or all kinds of stuff. You'd think with all the shark news that we'd be experts on everything about sharks, but there's lots to be discovered. But with the tagging, they are tracking them now. So they tend to go up into New England in the summer, and there's lots of food up there, and then they head south in the winter. And of course, they have to come by Virginia and North Carolina both ways. So they're here year round, but there is that general migration. So, but they're off the shore. These great whites are big sharks. They're 20, 30 miles offshore. They rarely come close here. Up in New England, occasionally they're seen closer to the beach, but not around here.
Do they swim together, or are they more solo?
They're more solo. Yeah.
Okay. The exhibit also combines a lot of different extra programs that are themed to your exhibit, and you guys do a fantastic job every time you do this, and so I'm excited to learn more about what you're doing this time around.
We are going to be having a Shark Day in July, like we do every year, so that'll be coupled with that. But then there are a few dates still to be determined, and you can check out our website. But some Saturday and Sundays here and there, I will be standing on the floor in the Shark Zone exhibit with our baby sharks that we actually raise in the museum. A lot of people don't know that the cat sharks that are on the exhibit lay eggs and lay eggs constantly, so we take them to the nursery behind the scenes and we raise them up, and they hatch out, and from there we actually send them to other aquariums around the country as well. I just shipped some to Connecticut this week, so it's pretty exciting. And
I'm sorry, what is the success rate of the eggs that are?
Oh gosh, well, from my experience with the shark eggs, it's like 85–90% success rate.
That's a lot of sharks.
They are born, these particular species are born offshore in the continental shelf. They have like a little nursery, and they have their little eggs laying, and they are just left alone, and it's a perfect little environment for them to just live and then hatch and then be on their own. So they don't really require a lot. They like colder water, higher pressure, but they just lay there in the sand, so we'll feed them every other day, and they just lay there some more.
How big will they get?
Well, the adults of this particular species are only about 12 to 14 inches, so they're not very big at all. And they are in the touch tank exhibit that you can touch. They just lay there. They're kind of sandpapery to the feel, but they're really fun.
Now, is this what we have here?
This is what I have here, and I also have skate eggs in here as well, which most people would find on the beach. These guys, they're called mermaid's purses.
Okay.
And so they also lay eggs on the exhibit as well, so we will pull them, but I usually get a little flashlight, and then you can watch their progress inside. So you see that little tail wiggling around?
Yes, I do.
So I have different stages here. That one was still very young. this one is about ready to hatch out. You can see his eyes, and he's taken up the entire egg there. So when you find these on the beach, they've already been hatched out and the eggs are washed up, and a lot of people don't realize that. But then the sharks look a little bit different. This guy also looks like he's about to hatch out any day now. Yes. And then this one was just laying, just a little yolk inside. So we'll start to see some development in the next couple weeks. So yeah.
Fantastic. Now I have an understanding because I see them all the time when I'm at the beach. That's fantastic. Yeah. So they just start off very small, is that it? And are they growing within the casement?
They're growing within the casing. Wow. It's just like a chicken egg. You know, there's a yolk inside, and they start developing. The skate, actually, you see this kind of weird material around it. It's actually a really sticky kind of protein mass, and the eggs are laying usually 1 or 2 at a time, and that protein mass kind of keeps it weighted down in the sand, so it doesn't actually get washed up on the shore, and so they have that time to develop and then hatch out on their own.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for bringing them and showing them with us. Is there anything else that you'd like to add about the exhibit?
Maybe just the danger of sharks, since we're trying to change people's attitudes. And most people are scared of sharks, and they think rightfully so, but it's really not rightfully so. I mean, there's only 5 fatalities worldwide by sharks each year, so that's 5. Just in the Outer Banks alone, last year 8 people drowned. So put that in perspective.
Regardless of the
nothing to do with sharks. This is in the currents and
just in one area.
So in one year in one area, and we all go to the Outer Banks, and we love the Outer Banks, and we're probably scared of sharks, but we should be as scared of the ocean and the currents and the waves and watching kids when they go out swimming. So we have some graphics in the exhibit about other things more dangerous than sharks, like pencils, icicles, cows, deer. Pencils are 5 times more likely to kill you than a shark. So come to the exhibit and look up those stats. I don't know if they'll change your attitude completely, but you really have to take it in perspective. It's okay to be scared of sharks, but it's really not likely at all that you would ever encounter a shark in a dangerous situation. So they need to be respected and saved and protected.
Fantastic.
And that's what we're hoping for.
Well, that's really great to know, and I'm really super excited about the exhibit because it will educate a lot of people. And I know there's other parts of the exhibit we haven't even really talked about, but we want to save it, you know, for those that come and visit you. But there's a great research station, for example, and some other things. So anything else that you would like to add?
I just really appreciate the diversity of the sharks displayed in the exhibit. It's really cool, really promotes that not all sharks are scary. And like Fred said, it's fine to be scared of sharks. People are scared of sharks, spiders, cats, snakes, whatever. But that doesn't mean you need to go out and harm them, so it's not necessary. So I think it's a really cool way to kind of get people to appreciate sharks for what they are and their importance in the ecosystem. So
that's
come
great.
and see.
Thank you both for being with us today. I really appreciate it.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
So come to the Virginia Living Museum and see their newest exhibit, Shark Zone. You have until September 2nd, but as we all know, September 2nd will be here before you know it, so get it on your calendar now. For more information about this and all the great things that are happening this summer in Newport News, go to our website at newport-news.org. Thanks for watching.